Dr. Emily Carter stepped off the train and took a deep breath, the crisp autumn air filling her lungs. Ravenswood was a far cry from the bustling city she was used to, but its eerie charm intrigued her. She had been drawn here by reports of unexplained disappearances and strange occurrences, cases that had stumped local law enforcement. As she made her way to the sheriff's office, Emily couldn't help but notice the wary glances from the townsfolk. It was clear that her presence was both a curiosity and a disruption to their quiet lives. She pushed open the door to the office and found Sheriff Tom Hayes, hunched over a stack of paperwork. "Dr. Carter, I presume," he said, looking up with a skeptical expression. "Yes, that's right. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me, Sheriff Hayes," Emily replied, extending her hand. Tom shook her hand briefly before motioning for her to take a seat. "I have to be honest, Dr. Carter. I don't put much stock in these paranormal stories. But the mayor insisted we bring in an expert, so here we are." Emily nodded, understanding his skepticism. "I appreciate your candor, Sheriff. I'm not here to chase ghosts. I'm here to find answers. Can you tell me about the recent disappearances?" Tom sighed and pulled out a file. "We've had 3 disappearances in the past 6 months. All of them young women, all of them last seen near the outskirts of town. No bodies, no evidence, just gone." Emily took the file and began to read. The details were sparse, but one thing stood out: each disappearance had occurred during the new moon. She looked up at Tom. "Has anyone reported seeing or hearing anything unusual?" Tom shook his head. "Just the usual rumors about the Nightstalker. But like I said, I don't believe in that stuff." Emily smiled faintly. "Sometimes, legends are rooted in truth. I'll need access to the town's historical records and any files you have on the Blackwood family." Tom raised an eyebrow. "The Blackwoods? What do they have to do with this?" "Maybe nothing," Emily replied. "Or maybe everything." Emily spent the next few days immersing herself in the town's history. The local library, a dusty relic of the past, proved to be a treasure trove of information. It was here that she discovered an old, leather-bound journal tucked away on a forgotten shelf. The journal belonged to Abigail Blackwood, the last known member of the Blackwood family. Emily carefully opened the fragile pages, revealing a first-hand account of the family's dark history. Abigail wrote of strange rituals, whispered incantations, and a shadowy figure that haunted their estate. One entry, in particular, caught Emily's attention. June 14, 1876. The night was dark, the moon hidden behind a veil of clouds. Father led us in the ritual, his voice trembling with fear and power. We called upon the ancient spirits, seeking their protection. But something went wrong. A darkness enveloped us, and the Nightstalker appeared. It took Mother first, then Father. I barely escaped with my life. The curse has been unleashed." Emily's heart raced as she read the words. The ritual described in the journal seemed to align with the disappearances in Ravenswood. She had to find out more about the connection between the Blackwoods and the Nightstalker. She decided to visit Blackwood Manor, the abandoned estate that had become the stuff of local legend. The mansion stood on a hill overlooking the town, its once grand facade now a decaying ruin. As she approached, she felt a chill run down her spine. The front door creaked open with a gentle push, revealing a grand foyer covered in dust and cobwebs. Emily's flashlight illuminated the remnants of a bygone era, antique furniture, faded portraits, and broken chandeliers. She could almost hear the echoes of the past. As she explored the manor, she found a hidden compartment in the study, containing more of Abigail's writings. The journal entries grew increasingly desperate, detailing the family's attempts to banish the Nightstalker and the toll it took on them. August 3, 1876, we are trapped in a nightmare. The Nightstalker grows stronger with each passing day. I fear for my life and my sanity. There must be a way to break this curse, but I am running out of time. Emily knew she was on the right track. The journal hinted at a ritual that could potentially break the curse, but the details were frustratingly vague. She needed more information and decided to seek out the townsfolk who might know more about the Blackwood family and the Nightstalker. Emily's research into the history of the Blackwood family and the legend of the Nightstalker led her to Ravenswood's Historical Society. Housed in a grand old building near the town square, the Society's archives contained dusty records and ancient artifacts that spoke of a long-forgotten past. Emily was greeted by the Society's curator, Mrs. Beatrice Holloway, a frail but sharp-eyed woman who had spent her entire life in Ravenswood. Mrs. Holloway led Emily to a back room, where stacks of yellowed newspapers and brittle documents awaited her scrutiny. These records date back to the 1800s, Mrs. Holloway explained. If there's anything to be found about the Blackwoods, or the Nightstalker, it'll be here. Emily thanked her and began sifting through the fragile papers. Hours passed as she pored over old newspaper clippings, town records, and personal letters. Slowly, a picture began to emerge of a family cursed by their own dark ambitions. The Blackwoods had been one of Ravenswood's most influential families, their wealth and power unmatched. But their prosperity had come at a steep price. Whispers of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge surrounded the family, and the townsfolk grew fearful and suspicious. In one particularly chilling account, Emily found a detailed description of the night the Nightstalker first appeared. On the night of June 14, 1876, the Blackwood family was said to have gathered in their mansion for a secret ritual. Witnesses reported strange lights and sounds emanating from the estate. By morning, the mansion was in ruins, and the family was never seen again. Those who ventured near the estate spoke of a shadowy figure that prowled the grounds, a harbinger of doom known as the Nightstalker. Emily's fingers trembled as she read the words. The connection between the Blackwoods and the Nightstalker was undeniable. But why had the disappearances resumed now, after so many years? She needed answers, and she knew where to start: Blackwood Manor. Emily and Sheriff Hayes made their way to Blackwood Manor, the once grand estate, now a decaying relic of the past. The mansion loomed before them, its windows dark and lifeless, its walls covered in ivy and moss. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the silence was oppressive. "Are you sure about this?" Tom asked, his voice tinged with unease. "This place gives me the creeps." Emily nodded. "If we're going to uncover the truth about the Nightstalker, we need to explore every possibility. This house holds the key to the mystery." They pushed open the heavy front door and stepped into the foyer. The interior was a labyrinth of dark, dusty rooms, each filled with the remnants of a bygone era. Emily's flashlight cast eerie shadows on the walls as they made their way through the mansion. In the grand parlor, they found a massive fireplace, its mantel adorned with dusty portraits of the Blackwood family. Emily's gaze was drawn to a painting of a young woman, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and defiance. "That's Abigail Blackwood," Tom said, recognizing the name from Emily's research. "She was the last of the Blackwoods, wasn't she?" Emily nodded. "She was the one who documented the family's descent into darkness. Her journal mentioned a ritual that went horribly wrong, summoning the Nightstalker. We need to find more of her writings." They searched the parlor and adjacent rooms, uncovering hidden compartments and secret passageways. In a small, hidden alcove, they found a trunk filled with old letters and diaries. Emily carefully opened one of the diaries and began to read. September 12, 1876. The darkness grows stronger with each passing day. I fear that we are all doomed. The Nightstalker haunts our every waking moment, a relentless predator that thrives on our fear. There must be a way to banish this evil, but I am running out of time. As Emily read, she felt a sudden chill, and the air around them grew colder. Tom shivered and looked around nervously. Did you feel that? Emily nodded, her heart racing. The presence of the Nightstalker is strong here. We need to be careful. They continued their search, finding more of Abigail's writings that hinted at a ritual to banish the Nightstalker. But the details were incomplete, and they needed more information to piece together the puzzle. In the library, they discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf. The door led to a secret chamber, its walls covered in strange symbols and ancient runes. In the center of the room stood an altar, and on it, a book bound in dark leather. Emily approached the altar cautiously and picked up the book. It was an ancient tome, its pages filled with incantations and rituals written in a language she could barely decipher. She knew this book held the key to understanding the curse of the Nightstalker. As they left the mansion, Emily felt a renewed sense of determination. They had uncovered crucial clues, but there was still much to learn. The night was far from over, and the legend of the Nightstalker was only beginning to unravel. Emily and Sheriff Hayes returned to the heart of Ravenswood with a renewed sense of urgency. The discoveries at Blackwood Manor had provided crucial clues, but they needed more information to piece together the full story and find a way to stop the Nightstalker. Emily decided to interview the townsfolk who had lived in Ravenswood for generations, hoping to uncover long-buried secrets. Their first stop was the home of Martha Williams, an elderly woman known for her knowledge of local history. Martha welcomed them into her cozy living room, filled with antiques and photographs that spanned the town's history. Martha, we are investigating the recent disappearances and the legend of the Nightstalker, Emily began. We were hoping you could tell us more about the Blackwood family and their connection to the Nightstalker. Martha's eyes widened with a mix of fear and curiosity. Oh, the Blackwoods. A troubled family, indeed. My grandmother used to tell me stories about them. They were said to dabble in dark rituals, summoning spirits and forces beyond our understanding. But after that fateful night, they were never seen again. Some say the Nightstalker is their punishment for meddling in things best left alone. Emily leaned forward, intrigued. Do you know anything about a ritual that could potentially banish the Nightstalker? Martha nodded slowly. There is a legend of a cleansing ritual that can banish evil spirits. It involves an ancient amulet, hidden somewhere in Ravenswood. The amulet was believed to be imbued with protective powers. Finding it won't be easy, but it's your best chance. Armed with this new information, Emily and Tom set out to find the amulet. Their search led them to the home of Jacob Turner, a reclusive man who had been a teenager when the disappearances began. Jacob had spent years researching the town's history, convinced that there was more to the Nightstalker legend than anyone realized. Jacob greeted them with a wary glance, his home filled with books and papers documenting his research. I've been expecting someone to come asking about the Nightstalker, he said, ushering them inside. Jacob, we are trying to stop the Nightstalker. We need to find an ancient amulet that's said to have protective powers, Emily explained. Jacob's eyes lit up with a spark of recognition. The Amulet of Light. it's real. I found references to it in old texts, but its location has been lost to time. However, I believe it's hidden in the town's old chapel, built by the Blackwoods before their downfall. The chapel is abandoned now, but it's worth a look. Emily and Tom thanked Jacob and headed to the old chapel on the outskirts of town. The building was in ruins, but they searched every nook and cranny, hoping to find the amulet. Finally, in a hidden compartment beneath the altar, they discovered a small, intricately carved box. Inside lay the amulet of light, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. With the amulet of light in their possession, Emily and Tom knew they had to act quickly. The upcoming lunar eclipse would empower the Nightstalker, and there was no time to lose. They returned to Blackwood Manor, where the cleansing ritual had to be performed to break the curse. The night was dark and foreboding. As they entered the mansion, the air heavy with anticipation. Emily carefully laid out the instructions for the ritual, and they began to prepare the altar in the secret chamber. The ancient tome they had found detailed every step, and they followed it meticulously. As the lunar eclipse began, the atmosphere in the mansion grew tense. Shadows danced on the walls, and the temperature dropped. Emily held the amulet of light aloft, its glow illuminating the chamber. She began to recite the incantations from the tome, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped her heart. Suddenly, the room filled with a bone-chilling wind, and the figure of the Nightstalker materialized before them, its form a dark, shifting shadow. Its eyes glowed with malevolent intent as it moved toward Emily and Tom. Tom stepped forward, holding his ground. "Stay back. We know your secrets, Nightstalker. Your reign of terror ends tonight." The Nightstalker hissed, its voice a twisted whisper. "You cannot banish me. I am eternal. I am darkness." Emily continued the ritual, her voice growing stronger with each word. The amulet of light began to pulse, its glow intensifying. The Nightstalker, right in agony, its form flickering as the power of the amulet took hold. With a final, desperate scream, the Nightstalker was enveloped in a blinding light. Its shadowy form disintegrated, leaving behind nothing but silence. The curse had been broken. As the lunar eclipse came to an end, the mansion was filled with a sense of calm and peace. Emily and Tom stood in the chamber, exhausted but victorious. The amulet of light had returned to its dormant state, its power spent. The town of Ravenswood awoke to a new dawn, free from the terror that had haunted it for generations. The story of the Nightstalker and the bravery of Emily and Tom spread quickly, and the townsfolk came together to honor their heroes. Emily remained in Ravenswood for a time, documenting her experiences and ensuring that the town's dark history was preserved. She knew that the legend of the Nightstalker would never be forgotten, but she also knew that Ravenswood had found a new strength and resilience. As she prepared to leave the town that had become a second home, Emily looked back at Blackwood Manor one last time. The shadows that once haunted its halls had been banished, but the memories of her journey would stay with her forever. Tom, now a firm believer in the supernatural, took on the role of protector for Ravenswood, ensuring that the town remained safe from any future threats. The bond between him and Emily had grown strong, forged in the crucible of their shared ordeal. And as the town flourished, a mysterious figure watched from the shadows, a reminder that the battle between light and darkness was never truly over.